Welcome or welcome back to Trisha Reads It All. I'm Trisha, and today, even though we are almost a third of the way through December, we are doing my November wrap up. So, in November, I read only 7 books. This is not very many for me. So, I don't really know what happened in November. Hopefully, December is better. November was kind of a mixed bag with ratings, too. We'll talk about that as we go through. But I'm going to take just a minute to talk about all 7 books that I read in November, and only one of them do I actually own in print. So I will show you that, and of course, I'll put pictures of everything else. But without any further ado, let's get to it. The 7 books I read in November 2025. So the first book, and the only one I have in print, is The Bell Tolls at Traeger Hall. This is the newest from Wright. It came out in October, I think. This is kind of gothic suspense. It's dual timeline, which a lot of Wright stuff is. She is a Christian fiction author. Some of her books have like a little bit more of faith elements than others. This one does not have very many faith elements at all. So if you are not someone who likes that, I think that you would still enjoy this particular book. I gave it 4 stars. It takes place in 1890. We have Waverly Pembroke. She is the niece of the Traeger family. She's living at Traeger Hall when her aunt and uncle are mysteriously stabbed to death. And then at the reading of the will, she finds out that her uncle is kind of not very nice, and he does not leave her anything, and she also must leave the hall within very short time after their deaths. And so that's one story. And then the other one is present day. We have Jenny, and Jenny's father purchased Traeger Hall, and now she is trying to figure out what to do with it. There's still all this mystery surrounding it, surrounding the original murders, and then it's been kind of closed off since, for reasons that the book gets into. But the day that she arrives at Traeger Hall to figure out what she's going to do with it, she stumbles across a dead body. And so not only are we trying to figure out what happened with the murders in the past, but now we also have a dead body in the present. And we follow both women and their attempts to figure out what to do with the hall and what to do about these murders. I gave this 4 stars. Like I said, I liked it. It was good. It wasn't my favorite Jamie Jo Wright, but it was good. It was good. It was worth the read. Okay, and then I read Monkshood by Ellis Peters. This is number 3 in the Brother Chronicles of Brother Cadfael. I gave this one 5 stars. I really, really like these books, and they are not new by any means. But in this one, we're in at Christmas time in the year 1138, and we are with the monks of Shrewsbury Abbey, specifically Brother Cadfael, who is the gardener slash herbalist at the abbey, and he also solves mysteries. And in this one, it's really interesting because there's a guy who is staying at the abbey. His name is Jervis Bonnell, and he gets poisoned and dies. And the poison is an oil that can be found in Brother Cadfael's garden. So he has that reason to kind of figure out what has happened. But also, we find out that this guy's wife, the dead guy's wife, is someone from Cadfael's past. And so it's really interesting. We get some more information than we've gotten in the previous books about his life before becoming a monk. And so that is really interesting to read too. I liked this one a lot. I like this series. It's it's slow burn, slow paced mysteries, much in the style of like an Agatha Christie or something like that. But Brother Cadfael is such a likable character. He just is. And so I that is a series that I definitely plan on continuing. And if you have not heard of it, you should check it out. Okay, next I read The Queen's Cook by Tessa Afshar. Again, Tessa Afshar is a Christian fiction writer. She writes a lot of biblical retellings, which is kind of what this is a little bit. I rated it 4 stars, and basically, in this book, we're in ancient Persia, and at the time of Queen Esther from the Bible, and the Jewish citizens are in a bit of a fix because there's been an edict from the king that's threatens their existence. And so we have Roxana, who is a Persian girl, and she doesn't necessarily agree with the king's edict, and she goes so far as to warn a friend of hers who is Jewish, Aiden. He's the king's the court physician, and she actually warns him of the danger that he's in from Roxana's own father. There is violence that ensues, and things happen, and Aiden and Roxana's lives intertwine. She ends up, I'm gonna say this, I would call it a spoiler, except it's not because it's in the title, but it doesn't happen at the beginning of the book. But she becomes the queen's cook. So she gets a job in Queen Esther's kitchens. And she and Aiden go on to have lots of adventures in that respect. And they're able to help out the queen in various ways. And this is really interesting. So, of course, it goes beyond the Esther story in the Bible, but it is kind of adjacent to that. And what may have happened, interwoven with some things that are in the book of Esther in the Bible. So it's really interesting. I liked it a lot. There is a second book out in this series now that I want to get to very soon. By the way, it is freezing in my house right now. Okay, and then I read Ender's Shadow. This is by Orson Scott Card. It is science fiction. I rated it 4 stars. If you have read Ender's Game or seen the movie, this is a parallel story to that. And it's written about Bean. Now, Bean is present in Ender's Game, but he's not like what I would call a major character by any means. So in this book, we get the same story from Bean's point of view. We actually get to go back a little bit because we see his childhood. He is the youngest, one of the youngest members in battle school, and he makes up for his size with smarts. He's kind of a genius, and he can see enemy moves, like miles ahead of time. He would be like a really good chess player, I think, because he's just really good at being able to see around corners. And so he meets up with Ender in battle school, and we go from there. It's sci-fi. It's really good. It is part of the Shadow series, which this first one kind of parallels the Ender's Game books. And then I think it goes off a little bit on its own kind of side story. But this is really good. And if you are someone who liked Ender's Game, I would highly recommend reading this book. I gave it 4 stars again. That is Ender's Shadow by Orson Scott Card. And then I read This Book Will Bury Me by Ashley Winstead, and I did not give this a rating, mostly because I kind of felt uncomfortable doing so. I liked this book as far as it went. I liked the story. I liked the mystery. This is a mystery about some murders that take place on a college campus. A group of roommates is murdered, and then there are other murders that also take place later on in the story. And we have our main girl, Jane. She has just lost her father. He had a heart attack, and so in her grief, she's looking for something to do, and she comes across online a group of amateur sleuths and true crime enthusiasts, and she gets involved with them, and they get involved with helping to solve these murders. It's well written, it's well plotted, it's interesting in a lot of ways. This is a book where not only is Jane telling us the story of what happened, but she also kind of comes out of the story and talks to us as the reader, um, as if we have prior knowledge of this crime and the aftermath of it. And so it's kind of an interesting format. The reason I'm not rating it is because I have yet to decide how I feel about this. Because Ashley Winstead based this book on a real case, the Idaho 4, Idaho murders that took place at a college in Idaho in 2022. And the first part of the book follows that case quite closely. It does veer off, but the first part of this book is definitely recognizable as that case. And after reading this book, I went and watched a couple of documentaries about this, about the actual case, and all of the parallels. I don't know. I don't know. It was a little cringy to me, so I don't know how I feel about that. So I decided that I wasn't going to rate this book, but having said that, I did enjoy this story. Okay, and then we get to the last two books are both books that I had on NetGalley that I really needed to get read. The first one is Sing the Night by Megan. I am probably going to butcher her name, but maybe it's Jauregui Eccles. This is being billed as the Night Circus meets Phantom of the Opera. I read and loved the Night Circus. I have not read or seen Phantom of the Opera. I know what it's about, of course, but I have not read the book, so I don't know how closely this follows that line, but I gave it 3 stars. It's kind of a gothic fantasy, and it's about this girl who is a singer. And in this world, music is tied to magic. And so our main character, is trying to win a competition so that she can become magician to the king, and she can she can kind of fulfill her father's legacy. Her father used to be the magician to the king, and he died under quite mysterious circumstances, and so she's trying to kind of redeem him a little bit. But to do that, she pairs up with this ghost that lives in the opera hall where she performs, and his magic is a little bit different. And I'm not going to talk about what it is, but it's a little bit dark and mysterious and definitely does give off those gothic kind of vibes. I did not really get Night Circus from this. Like I said, it may be closer to Phantom of the Opera. In fact, I suspect that it is a little bit closer to that. But It's interesting. The concept of the magic system here is interesting. I wish it was a little more flushed out because I can't say that I understood it too much, but it is different. And there is going to be, I believe, another book in this series because it does end on a cliffhanger, so beware of that. Um, but yeah, I mean, if you like gothic suspense, kind of darker fantasy, this might be worth a try. It comes out in March, I believe. It was originally scheduled to be published this year, but something happened with the publisher and she ended up switching publishers, and so now it comes out, I believe, in the spring. And then, last but not least, I have First Sign of Danger by Kelley Armstrong. It's the next um, installment of the Havens Rock series, which I really like this series. It's about a town in Canada that has basically been designed for people who need to hide from something, who need refuge from something. And it's run by Detective Casey Duncan and her husband. He's the sheriff of the town. His name is Eric, and they in this one have just had a new baby. She's just a few months old in this one, and they are out on a walk one day when they discover some injured hikers, which wouldn't necessarily be a problem, except that these hikers are pretty close to the town, and the reason the town works is that it is completely hidden. And so, of course, they are concerned about the proximity of these people in this vast wilderness. They're pretty close to town. And then one of the hikers turns up dead. And so we have to figure out what in the world is going on and whether or not these people or anyone else who knows that they are in the area. It's good. These are always good, and it's fun to kind of catch up with characters from the other books. This is a Kelley Armstrong wrote a series called Rockton, and which was about another town, very much like this one. That series ended, but many of the same characters from that series are now in this series. And so, especially for like longtime fans of this series, this is a good one. We get to catch up with familiar characters, and the relationships between the people in these books are just really, really well done. There's all kinds of different people from different walks of life and different backgrounds, all coming together to work to keep the citizens of this town safe and secluded. And it's really good. I liked it a lot. I gave this one, what did I give this one? Let's see what I gave this one. What rating? Um, I rated it 5 stars. I thought I did. So, those are the 7 books that I read. Oh, back up. Bleep. Um, this one comes out in February of 2026. Like I said, I had a NetGalley e-arc and was able to read this one now. So that was super fun. Thanks to NetGalley for that. Again, it comes out in February 2026. All right, now those are the 7 books I read in November. I'm really hoping that I will read more in December, but honestly, the what I did read in November, I rated pretty highly. I think I only had 1 3 star, and everything else was 4 or 5 stars, except the one that I didn't rate. So, I mean, it was a pretty good reading month overall. Just not a lot of quantity. All right. Well, I think we have come to the end of this one. If you enjoyed this content, please like this video or subscribe. I would love to have you and keep in touch with you. Also, comment and let me know what you have been reading or if you have read anything that I read from this month and what you thought about it. I always enjoy interacting with you guys, and I thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye.